Aboard the Mary Celeste, life flows as steadily and predictably as the tide. Each day melts into the next, a seamless blend of routine and tranquility. But beneath this placid surface, there's a story waiting to emerge, a tale that will rewrite history and leave an enigma that echoes through time. This is the story of the Mary Celeste, a story of mystery, intrigue, and unanswered questions. It's 1872, an era when the sea was king. Sailing ships were the titans of trade, traversing the oceans with a grace and power that defined commerce. The Mary Celeste, a brigantine, was among these giants, a vessel designed to dance with the winds of the Atlantic. Her sleek lines cutting through the waves, she was a picture of nautical elegance. Her sails billowing like the lungs of a sleeping giant. At the helm stood Captain Benjamin Briggs, a man whose name whispered through maritime circles. His reputation was one of quiet competence, a man who commanded respect not because of bluster, but by the steadfastness of his character. He was a man of routine, his life measured by the predictable sway of the ship and the steady hands that guided her. Alongside him was his wife, Sarah, a woman whose gentle nature was as calming as the summer sea. She moved with the grace of a seasoned sailor, her steps sure, her eyes trained on the horizon. Together, they formed a tableau of domestic tranquility, a married couple navigating not just the seas, but the complexities of life with an understated charm. Their daughter, little Sophia, was the embodiment of childhood joy, her laughter echoing the song of the rigging. With pigtails bouncing and eyes sparkling, she was a constant presence on the deck, her tiny figure dwarfed by the immensity of the ship, yet no less intrepid for it. In the confines of the ship's cabin, amidst the creaking of the timbers and the salty temps of the sea, life played out in a rhythm as old as the sea itself. The hum of activity mingled with the lull of the waves, creating a symphony of daily life at sea. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the crew sprang into action, their movements as synchronized as the gears of a well-oiled machine. Each man knew his task. Each task had its time. Ropes were coiled, sails were adjusted, and the ship was steered with a firm hand on the wheel. The routine was a testament to their training, years of experience distilled into fluid motions. Yet amidst this organized chaos, there was always time for a shared meal, a moment of camaraderie around the table, where the stories of the land were traded for the adventures of the sea. These were men who lived, laughed, and worked as one, bound by the invisible threads of brotherhood forged in the heart of the ocean. Weeks turned into a comfortable familiarity. The Mary Celeste became more than just a ship. It was a home-floating sanctuary where life unfolded with a predictability that was both comforting and stifling. And then came the incident that shattered the placidity of their lives. The moment that transformed the Mary Celeste from a vessel of habit into a symbol of mystery. The morning dawned as per usual, the sky a canvas of azure, the sea a sheet of polished silver. Life on board the Mary Celeste flowed in its accustomed rhythm, the gentle rocking of the ship lulling the crew into a false sense of security. The clink of dishes echoed in the cabin as breakfast was prepared, the smell of frying bacon mingling with the salty temps of the sea. Little Sophia, with her infectious laughter, chased a stray cat across the deck while Captain Briggs meticulously studied his charts, his brow furrowed in concentration. But this day, like all those before it, was not destined to end in tranquility. As the first mate, Mr. Morehouse, approached the captain with a troubling report. For several days, the ship had been experiencing an unusual phenomenon. The wind, once their ally, now seemed to be working against them, slowing their progress and testing their patience. The relentless headwinds threatened to push them off course, jeopardizing their carefully planned schedule. Captain Briggs, ever the pragmatist, listened intently, his mind racing with potential solutions. The thought of being delayed, of arriving late in Genoa, was not a prospect he relished. He knew that in the world of trade, time was money. But more importantly, he had promised his wife and daughter a grand adventure, a journey that would culminate in the marvels of Italy. To be delayed would not only mean financial repercussions, but the shattering of the cherished dream he had woven for his family. After a thoughtful pause, Captain Briggs made his decision. They would drop anchor in the Azores and wait for more favorable winds. The crew sprang into action, their movements sharp and efficient, a testament to their years of training. The sails were quickly lowered, the anchor was dropped, and the Mary Celeste settled onto the restless waters of the Atlantic. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the deck. A heavy silence fell over the crew. No one spoke, but everyone felt the weight of the situation. They were not merely waiting out a storm. They were confronting the uncertainty of the sea, a vast, uncharted territory that held both beauty and peril. The solitude was palpable, broken only by the ceaseless cry of the gulls overhead. The crew huddled together, their faces etched with worry, their silence speaking volumes of their unease. In the face of this unnerving calm, Captain Briggs gathered his crew. His voice, usually so steady, betrayed a hint of urgency. He spoke of the need to be vigilant, to keep a close watch, and to trust in their training. But even as he spoke, he couldn't shake off the premonition that something was amiss. And then it happened. A sound so unexpected, so jarring that it cut through the stillness like a shard of glass. A scream, a woman's scream, pierced the twilight, echoing over the waves. It was a sound of pure terror, a sound that froze the blood in their veins. The crew sprang into action, their earlier lethargy forgotten, replaced by a frenetic energy. They raced across the deck, their voices echoing the alarm in their hearts. "Man overboard!" someone cried out, the words hanging heavy in the air. In that moment, the placidity of their lives aboard the Mary Celeste shattered. They were no longer just sailors on a leisurely voyage. They were men on a mission, their focus honed by the urgency of the moment. Captain Briggs. His face grabbed a lifebuoy and raced to the railing. His eyes scanned the darkening sea, searching for any sign of a struggling swimmer. His heart pounded in his chest, a drumbeat of anxiety. As the minutes ticked by, the hope of a quick rescue dwindled, replaced by a chilling realization. Whoever had screamed was now nowhere to be seen. The sea, vast and merciless, offered no clues, no sign of the missing person. The crew, their faces pale, gathered around the captain, their whispers carried away by the wind. Theories were exchanged, fears were voiced, but no one had an answer. What had caused the scream? Where was the missing person? And why had they vanished without a trace? In the eerie silence that followed, Captain Briggs made the decision to sail around the ship, hoping to spot any sign of the missing person. The rest of the crew fanned out, their eyes scanning the ship from bow to stern. Every creak of the ship, every splash of the waves against the hull sent a jolt of adrenaline through them. They were searching for a sign, a clue, anything that could shed light on the haunting scream. The search, however, yielded no answers. No sign of the missing person, no indication of what had caused the terrifying scream. As the darkness deepened, so did their sense of foreboding. The placid surface of the sea around the Mary Celeste was now a mystery hiding a multitude of questions. The missing person, the haunting scream, and the unsettling feeling that something was amiss had turned their tranquil voyage into a puzzle without pieces. They were trapped in a labyrinth of uncertainty, the calm waters around them a deceptive facade for the turmoil in their hearts. The Mary Celeste was found adrift and alone. Her crew and passengers vanished without a trace. A chilled wind rustled through her empty sails, whispering tales of a mystery that has endured for centuries. The ocean is a vast, inscrutable realm, holding countless mysteries and perils within its depths. For centuries, it has been a source of wonder, adventure, and danger for humans, who have dared to venture out into its uncharted waters. But amidst the tales of daring voyages and treacherous storms, there are some eerie accounts that stand out. Stories of silence. There are some moments in the vast expanse of the ocean where the very essence of the sea seems to hush. The wind stops, the waves become still, and an eerie silence descends upon the water. These moments of oceanic quiet can be both awe-inspiring and unsettling, reminding us of the raw power and enigmatic nature of the sea. Now let's delve into the eerie tale of the day. Gratia and Mary Celeste. Imagine, if you can, the open seas stretching out before you, the horizon line blurring the sky and water into one seamless view. The sun is shining, the sky is clear, and there isn't a sound to be heard. This is the scene that greeted the crew of the De Gratia as they approached the Mary Celeste on December 4th, 1872. The De Gratia Bria ship was sailing eastward under the command of Captain David Moore. He was about 200 miles east of the Azore Islands when his crew spotted what appeared to be a ghost ship on the horizon. At first, They thought it was just a mirage, the sun beating down on the deck, making them hallucinate. But as the ship drew closer, they realized it was all too real. As the crew of the Dei Gratia got closer, they saw that the ship was a brigantine, and something was wrong. Very wrong. The sails were set, but one side hung loosely, as if the crew had suddenly abandoned their posts. The ship was drifting aimlessly through the water, tossed by the waves, but lacking any real direction. There was no sign of a struggle or distress, just an eerie stillness that sent shivers down the spines of the Dei Gratia's crew. The sight was so unusual and unsettling that Captain Morehouse ordered his crew to row closer to investigate. As they neared the strange ship, the silence became even more profound, amplifying the mystery of the derelict vessel. There was no sound of crashing waves against the hull, no creaking of timbers, no shouts of sailors, just an unnerving quiet that seemed to envelop the very essence of the sea. What made the situation even stranger was the fact that the weather was calm. There was no storm to explain the disarray of the sails or the abandonment of the ship. It was as if the crew of the brig had simply vanished into thin air, leaving their ship and their fate unknown. This unsettling tableau continued for several hours as the crew of the Dei Gratia explored the silent ship, finding no answers, only deepening questions. They found the ship stocked with food and supplies, suggesting that the crew had left in a hurry but intended to return. Personal belongings were left untouched, further adding to the enigma of their disappearance. The most disturbing discovery came when the crew of the Dei Gratia searched the ship for survivors. They found 7 crew members missing, including the captain and his wife and child who were on board. Their quarters were neat and tidy, suggesting they had not been the victims of foul play. Yet there was no sign of a struggle or any indication of where they could have gone. It was as though the entire crew had been summoned away from the ship, leaving it stranded in the vast expanse of the ocean with no one to tell its tale. Faced with this inexplicable scenario, Captain Morehouse and his crew had no choice but to abandon the Mary Celeste, leaving it to the mercy of the relentless waves. They left behind a ship frozen in time, its secrets buried deep in the ocean's embrace. The story of the Mary Celeste and her missing crew remained a mystery for many years, giving rise to numerous theories and speculations. Some believed that the crew had been taken by pirates, while others suspected that they had encountered a sea monster or a supernatural phenomenon. There were rumors of mutiny, of hidden treasure, and of paranormal activity on board the ship. In the absence of concrete evidence, these theories persisted, fueled by the eerie silence of the ocean that had swallowed the crew whole. Today, the story continues to captivate and intrigue people around the world, leaving them to ponder the endless possibilities. One of the prevailing theories suggests that the crew of the Mary Celeste may have been victims of an extraordinary natural event such as a sudden whirlpool or a rogue wave. These phenomena, though rare, have the power to engulf ships and their crews in an instant, leaving no trace of their existence. The vastness and unpredictability of the ocean makes it possible for such events to occur without warning, taking lives and leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions. Another theory proposes that the crew of the Mary Celeste fell victim to a more sinister force: piracy. Pirates were known to operate in the waters of the 19th century, preying on merchant ships and their valuable cargo. The disappearance of the crew without a trace could be attributed to a pirate attack, with the pirates killing or capturing the crew and stealing their possessions. This theory is supported by the fact that the ship was found with some of its cargo missing, suggesting that it had been deliberately removed. However, there is no record of any pirate activity in the area at the time, leaving this theory open to debate. Some theories take a more fantastical turn, suggesting that the crew of the Mary Celeste encountered a sea monster or a mythical creature that dragged them beneath the waves. Tales of sea monsters have captivated human imagination for centuries, with stories of colossal creatures lurking in the depths of the ocean. While there is no concrete evidence to support this theory, the mysterious circumstances surrounding the disappearance of the crew leave room for speculation. Could an elusive sea monster have been responsible for the crew's vanishing act, leaving the ship unmanned and adrift in the vast expanse of the Atlantic? The truth is that the disappearance of the crew of the Mary Celeste remains an unsolved mystery, a haunting tale of the sea that continues to baffle and intrigue. The silence of the ocean in which she was found is a stark reminder of the unpredictable and sometimes unforgiving nature of the waters we explore. The silence of the ocean can be deafening. It can swallow sounds, both the gentle lapping of waves and the cries of seagulls, leaving an eerie quiet that can be both captivating and unsettling. The vastness of the sea amplifies this effect, creating a sense of isolation and introspection. When the ocean is silent, it becomes a mirror reflecting our own thoughts and emotions back at us. The silence becomes a canvas on which we project our fears and uncertainties, magnifying them in the process. It's as if the ocean itself is listening, absorbing and amplifying our innermost thoughts, creating a symphony of silence that resonates deep within our souls. However, the silence of the ocean is not always serene. It can be ominous, pregnant with unseen forces and hidden depths. The stillness of the water can mask turbulent currents and hidden dangers, creating a deceptive sense of calm. When the ocean is silent, it's important to remember that the silence can be deceiving. It's not always a sign of tranquility, but sometimes a prelude to a storm or a warning of lurking dangers. The ocean's silence is a testament to the immense power it holds. It's a reminder that we are just visitors on its surface, forever at its mercy. The silence is a humbling experience that puts our own voices and noises into perspective. It's a call for us to listen not just with our ears, but with our souls to the wisdom and resilience of the natural world. As we navigate the complexities of modern life filled with noise and distractions, the silence of the ocean offers a rare opportunity for introspection and renewal. It invites us to disconnect from the noise and reconnect with ourselves and the world around us. In the silence, we find a space for stillness, for reflection, and for the rediscovery of the beauty and mystery that surrounds us. So the next time you find yourself by the ocean, especially when it is silent, take a moment to appreciate the unique experience it offers. Listen, not just for the sounds, but for the lessons the ocean's silence holds. Embrace the stillness, connect with your inner self, and marvel at the beauty of the natural world. Let the silence of the ocean be your guide, leading you to a deeper understanding of yourself and the world we all inhabit. The silence of the ocean is a profound and multifaceted phenomenon that can evoke a range of emotions and offer valuable insights into the mysteries of the sea and ourselves. From the eerie stillness that greeted the crew of the Dei Gratia, to the haunting tales of sea monsters and pirates, the ocean's silence has captured human imagination for centuries. Whether it's the serene beauty of a calm sea or the ominous quiet before a storm, the silence of the ocean serves as a constant reminder of the raw power and nature of the waters that cover more than 70% of our planet. So the next time you find yourself by the ocean, whether in person or in thought, take a moment to appreciate the unique experience it offers. Listen to the silence, embrace the stillness, and let the ocean's tranquility wash over you, carrying you away to a place of peace and wonder. A man stands at the helm of the Mary Celeste. His face is etched with concern, his eyes scanning the horizon. It is December 1872. The ship's captain, Benjamin Briggs, has been gone for days, and now the man at the wheel realizes that something is wrong. Very wrong. He calls out, but there is no reply. He shouts again, his voice echoing across the empty deck. Still, no answer. He drops the helm, his heart pounding, and rushes below deck. The sight that greets him sends a chill down his spine. The ship is eerily silent, devoid of any sound, any sign of life. He had come to the Mary Celeste expecting to find a bustling crew ready to set sail for New York. Instead, he finds himself in the grip of an unsettling stillness. As he explores the ship, he discovers that everyone is missing. The captain, his wife, and their 2-year-old daughter. The entire crew vanished without a trace. The ship is a ghost, a phantom sailing the seas with no living soul on board. This is the story of the Mary Celeste, a tale of mystery, intrigue, and the unexplained. Now let's continue with part 3. A ghostly stillness. The eerie quiet of the deck is matched only by the unnerving silence below. The crew of the Dei Gratia, their faces grim with apprehension, begin to descend into the belly of the ship. Their movements are cautious, respectful in the face of the unknown. Every creak of the ship, every gust of wind that whips across the deck makes them jump. At the foot of the companionway, they pause, listening intently. Silence. Then, with a shared nod, they start down into the dark depths of the ship's hold. The ship's hold, usually a hive of activity, is now a tomb of stillness. In the dim glow of the lanterns they carry, the crew sees nothing out of the ordinary. The cargo of camphor, stacked high and shrouded in the smell of the sea, seems undisturbed. It is as though the hold itself is holding its breath, preserving the secrets of what has transpired here. As they move further into the ship, they begin to hear sounds, or rather the absence of sounds. There is the telltale drip of water, the sigh of the wind through the rigging above, the gentle rocking of the ship on the waves. But there is no sound of life. No voices echo in the corridors. No footsteps sound on the wooden planks. It is as if the very essence of life has been sucked out of the ship. They reach the spot where the ship's logbook is kept. It is a leather-bound book, its pages filled with the neat script of the ship's officers. They open it. The last entry is dated November 25th, 1872. It speaks of fair winds and a steady course, a calm and uneventful day at sea. Nothing in the logbook, nor any indication of what may have befallen the crew. They move on to the captain's quarters. On a small chalkboard, likely used by Captain Briggs as a notepad, they find his last message. It reads, November 25th, 5:00 a.m. Alludo to the W event. The sentence is cut off, the thought unfinished, as if he was abruptly interrupted. But by what or who? The logbook and the captain's quarters offer no more answers. They move through the ship, discovering signs of an abandoned life. In the Gaye, they find a half-eaten meal on a table, suggesting that the crew had been in the midst of a routine task when they were forced to abandon their meal and flee. In the captain's room, they see a child's toy lying on the floor, a reminder of the innocence lost in this eerie tale. The sight of the ship's chronometer, an essential navigational instrument, is missing from its place on the wall. However, other valuable items such as jewelry and money are left behind. It is as though the crew had been in such a hurry to leave that they didn't even stop to grab their most prized possessions. Everywhere they go, they find evidence of a life lived, but not a single sign of a struggle. No overturned furniture, no broken dishes, no sign of violence. It's as if the crew simply got up and walked away from their lives on the ship. But why? The crew gathers in the main cabin, their faces illuminated by the lantern light, their shadows stretching and twisting around them. They discuss what they have found, their voices hushed, their words careful. There is a palpable tension in the air, a shared fear that binds them together. None of them has seen anything like this before. The ship is a mystery, an enigma that defies rational explanation. How could an entire crew vanish without a trace? Where could they have gone? What could have compelled them to leave their ship, their lives, their duties? And more importantly, why? Did they abandon ship? Or were they taken by force? Was it piracy, mutiny, or some other nefarious act? Or could there be a more supernatural cause, something that shivers their skin to think about? They think back to the moments leading up to their discovery of the Mary Celeste. They remember spotting the ship in the distance, seemingly a picture of normalcy with its sails full and its hull cutting through the waves. They recall approaching the ship, hailing it, and receiving no response. They remember boarding the ship, finding it empty, and feeling the inexplicable chill that had heralded their discovery. But there's one thing that troubles them more than all else. Why is there no sign of a struggle? No indication of what could have possibly happened to the crew. The ship is a labyrinth of clues, each one leading them deeper into the mystery, yet none providing any clear answers. The silence is deafening, the absence profound, and as they continue their search, they realize that the ghost of the Mary Celeste may never be fully laid to rest. Meanwhile, as the crew of the Dei Gratia continues their eerie exploration of the Mary Celeste, the world reacts to the news of this mysterious vessel found adrift at sea. Newspapers print sensational stories of the ghostly ship and its missing crew. People gather at docks, eager to catch a glimpse of the eerie vessel and its haunting story. And then there are those who dismiss the tale as mere fiction, a sailor's yarn spun to attract attention or perhaps an elaborate hoax. The public is divided, gripped by the mystery, yet skeptical of the truth. Theories abound. Had the crew succumbed to a disease? Did they mutiny and leave the ship under the control of a phantom captain? Or did they encounter something sinister, something that drove them to abandon their ship? Amidst the chaos of speculation and confusion, one fact remains clear. The Mary Celeste is not just a ship. It has become a symbol of the unknown, a reminder of the mysteries that lie hidden beneath the waves of our understanding. But the real mystery lies not just in the disappearance of the crew, but in the haunting silence that envelops the ship. The silence of a ship without a crew is a profound thing. It echoes the emptiness of an absent life. It whispers of a story untold, of a mystery unsolved. It is a silence that can be heard. As the investigation into the Mary Celeste continues, people are reminded of the fragility of life, the uncertainty of fate, and the enduring power of the sea. For in the end, the ocean keeps its secrets close, and the Mary Celeste, with her ghostly silence, becomes a timeless enigma, a haunting reminder of the mysteries that lie at the heart of our existence. So what do you think happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste? Do you believe they abandoned ship, or were they taken by force? If there were such a thing as a ghost ship, this would be it. The silence is deafening, the emptiness unnerving, and yet the very heart of the enigma lies not in the absence, but in the presence, in the details that whisper a tale of an eerie tranquility. We pick up the pieces of the puzzle with a revelation from the ship's captain's wife, her words echoing across time, revealing a stark truth about the ship's cargo. The Mary Celeste had embarked on her journey laden with industrial alcohol, a cargo far from precious metals or valuable spices, yet crucial to the economic gears of the time. Now, imagine the shockwaves that rippled through the port of New York when the news broke. The Mary Celeste, she of the haunted reputation, had been carrying something so mundane, so unexpected. How did such an ordinary cargo find its way onto a vessel steeped in tales of the unknown? And why was this seemingly insignificant cargo destined for the shores of oblivion? In the annals of maritime lore, the Mary Celeste is often depicted as a phantom, a specter that glides through the darkest depths of our fears. Yet here she is, grounded in reality by the most ordinary of commodities, industrial alcohol. This revelation serves as a potent reminder that the most chilling mysteries can lurk in the most commonplace of guys. As we dive deeper into the heart of this enigma, a new layer is unveiled, one that speaks of meticulous planning and a level of forethought that defies the bounds of rationality. The captain's wife mentions that the cargo was carefully sorted by numbers, each barrel marked with a sequence that hinted at its contents, quality, and destination. In the vast expanse of the industrial alcohol trade, how do these markings signify quality? What secrets did they hold that made them so important to the ship's enigmatic journey? And why was this particular cargo destined for obscurity, amidst the shadows of mystery that shroud the Mary Celeste? This detail emerges as a beacon of specificity, a testament to the thought and care that went into every aspect of the ship's ill-fated voyage. The precision with which the barrels were marked suggests a level of importance that extended beyond their mundane appearance. Marking cryptic clue, leading us deeper into the labyrinth of this perplexing tale. The pieces of the puzzle continue to assemble as we uncover more about the ship's cargo and its significance. The industrial alcohol carried by the Mary Celeste was not just any commodity. It was of a special kind, a high-proof spirit known as proof or painter's alcohol. This revelation adds another layer of intrigue to the ship's mysterious voyage, suggesting that the cargo was not merely ordinary commercial alcohol. So what made this particular type of alcohol so unique and sought after? And what could be the connection between this rare commodity and the ship's haunting fate? As we navigate the murky waters of the 19th century economy, we find ourselves drawn into a world where commodities are more than just goods. They are threads in the tapestry of a bygone era, each with its own tale to tell. The Mary Celeste, forever entwined with the legend of lost souls, now takes on a new dimension. No longer just a ghost ship, she becomes a vessel, carrying a piece of history itself, a silent witness to the shadowy underbelly of the age of exploration. As the narrative of the Mary Celeste unfolds, we find ourselves confronted with an enigma that goes beyond the ship's haunting disappearance. At the center of this mystery lies the ship's cargo manifest, a document that holds the key to unlocking the secrets of the Mary Celeste. The manifest reveals that the Mary Celeste was not just transporting ordinary industrial alcohol, but a consignment of pure grain alcohol. This revelation introduces a new set of questions. Why was such a valuable cargo being transported, and what role did it play in the ship's enigmatic fate? In the world of maritime trade during the mid-19th century, manifests were not just records of cargo, they were blueprints of commerce. Every item meticulously listed, every quantity precisely stated. The Mary Celeste's manifest becomes more than a shipping document. It transforms into a cryptic message, a silent witness to a tale that refuses to be silenced. With the identity of the cargo established, we turn our attention to the ship's logbook, seeking answers in the daily chronicles of the Mary Celeste's voyage. However, what we find is not what we expected. The logbook has gone missing, leaving us with nothing more than the daily weather reports that offer only glimpses of the conditions at sea. This discovery raises a critical question. What information could the logbook have contained that would shed light on the Mary Celeste's fate, and why was it deliberately removed, leaving us in the dark abyss of uncertainty? In the grand narrative of the Mary Celeste, the missing logbook emerges as a pivotal piece of the puzzle, a silent scream echoing across the waves, demanding answers that remain elusive. As we grapple with the implications of this absence, we realize that sometimes the most haunting mysteries are those that refuse to leave their secrets behind. Now, just as we begin to think that we've grasped the full extent of the Mary Celeste, the cargo enigma, another revelation emerges, adding another layer of complexity to this already intricate puzzle. The cargo manifest reveals that the consignee of the cargo was none other than Mr. Starbuck, a prominent figure in New York City. But who was Mr. Starbuck? And what was his connection to the Mary Celeste's cargo? Could he hold the key to unraveling the mystery of the ship's disappearance? In the dimly lit corners of 19th century New York, Mr. Starbuck's name echoes as a symbol of wealth and influence. The idea that such a powerful figure was linked to the enigmatic cargo on board the Mary Celeste sets off a chain of questions. What was the nature of the cargo's importance to him? Why was it being transported in such secrecy? And how did it connect to the larger narrative of the ship's disappearance? As we delve into the shadowy world of New York's elite, we find ourselves entangled in a web of intrigue, where the lines between business and conspiracy grow increasingly blurred. The missing pieces of the puzzle slowly begin to form a haunting picture of a world where secrets are currency and the cost of knowledge can be immeasurable. Adding to the enigmatic aura surrounding the Mary Celeste, rumors swirl around the captain's wife, weaving a tale of hidden motives and clandestine dealings. Whispers echo through the ages, suggesting that the captain's wife, far from being a simple homemaker, was deeply involved in the city's underground activities. Rumor paints a portrait of a woman who navigated the treacherous waters of vice and commerce with ease, her fingers in the pulse of the city's illicit economy. But what role did these alleged activities play in the Mary Celeste's fateful journey? And how did they intertwine with the mysterious cargo and the enigmatic Mr. Starbuck in the shadowy realm of 19th century New York, where morality was a luxury and survival meant navigating a minefield of vice and deceit? The captain's wife emerges as a symbol of resilience and cunning. As we peel back the layers of her character, we discover a woman whose actions were not driven by mere ambition, but by the primal need to survive in a world that offered little mercy. In the heart of this urban labyrinth, the captain's wife finds herself drawn into a world of illicit activities, becoming a key player in the city's underground economy. Her choices are not those of a reckless gambler, but of a shrewd businesswoman, her every move calculated and deliberate. With each passing day, her involvement deepens, blurring the lines between right and wrong and leading her into the dangerous realm of the city SLE. And as the tentacles of her illicit activities reach further, they inadvertently ensnare the Mary Celeste in a web of intrigue, turning the ship into a vessel of secrets and lies. The Mary Celeste, once a symbol of hope and prosperity, is now caught in the undertow of the captain's wife's dangerous world. The ship becomes a silent accomplice to the deceit, its very existence threatened by the shadows that lurk in the heart of the city. As the drama unfolds, the ship's fate hangs in the balance, teetering on the edge of a precipice where greed, betrayal, and desperation collide. The Mary Celeste's journey from a vessel of commerce to a pawn in a deadly game of deception mirrors the city's own trajectory, showcasing the corrupting influence of unchecked ambition. But amidst the darkness, a glimmer of defiance emerges from the most unexpected of sources. The ship itself, despite being entangled in the city's corrupt embrace, the Mary Celeste stands firm, a silent testament to the enduring spirit of adventure and exploration that continues to captivate humanity. The Mary Celeste's journey is more than just a tale of a haunted ship. It's a reflection of the human condition, a story that resonates across time and captures the essence of our relentless pursuit of the unknown. The ship becomes a symbol of our insatiable curiosity, a reminder of our innate desire to explore the uncharted territories of the world and our own psyches. As we reflect on the haunting tale of the Mary Celeste, we are reminded of the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of adversity. The ship's legacy lives on, not just as a ghost story, but as a testament to our capacity for courage, resilience, and the unyielding pursuit of knowledge and understanding. The year is 1872, and the Mary Celeste is making her way through the Caribbean. This is the fifth part of a five-part series on the strange tale of the ship that was fully stocked with food and supplies, and had its cargo of wine still on board when she was found. With her crew missing, and her anchor and some of her lifeboats gone, what could have happened to them? Let's find out. As the news of the Mary Celeste spread to the shores of the New World, it quickly began to morph into various tall tales. The ship's discovery was reported in local newspapers, and from there, versions of the events began to appear in every corner of the globe. Some of these stories were true and others not so much, but all of them were driven by one thing: the human desire to make sense of the inexplicable. One such story appeared in the December 13, 1872 edition of the New York Sun under the headline, "Mysterious Fate of the Captain and Crew of the Ship Mary Celeste." The article painted a grim picture of the ship's fate, suggesting that the entire crew, along with the captain, had perished after drinking a large quantity of alcohol. It said that the men became delirious, jumped into the sea, and drowned. What evidence did this writer have to back up such a claim? None whatsoever. Yet he confidently wove a tale of drunken revelry and tragic demise. Other reports offered more lurid details. In the minds of some, the captain and his men had been taken by a band of waterborne marauders, their fate sealed with the slash of a cutlass and the glint of a pistol. The ship, they claimed, had been used as a transport, disappearing into the horizon with its living cargo sold into slavery or worse. These dramatic theories dominated the public discourse. The quiet reality of the situation, a ship found without a crew, became overshadowed by the clamor of imagined scenarios. It was easier to believe in pirates and mutinies than to confront the unnerving idea that some things might have no explanation. But there were also other theories that went beyond the confines of the fictional tales. Some pointed towards natural phenomena, citing strange occurrences at sea as potential causes for the crew's disappearance. Perhaps a sudden squall had struck, they argued, hurling the crew into the raging waters, or even worse, a giant wave had emerged from nowhere, swallowing the men whole. There were also theories about the ship itself. Some suggested that the Mary Celeste was a victim of foul play, deliberately abandoned by its crew due to some hidden flaw. The food, they claimed, had been poisoned, driving the captain and his men off the ship in a desperate bid to save themselves. Yet none of these explanations could fully capture the essence of the mystery. The allure of the Mary Celeste lay not in any one particular theory, but in the enigma itself. And there were those who understood this. For some, the disappearance of the crew became a metaphor for the limitations of human understanding. In a world where certainty was prized above all else, the existence of the Mary Celeste served as a stark reminder of the boundaries of human knowledge. It was a quiet rebuke to those who sought easy answers and neat resolutions. The mystery of the Mary Celeste did not lend itself to simple solutions, and for those who pondered its depths, it offered a profound lesson in humility. In the annals of maritime lore, the Mary Celeste stands as a beacon of unanswered questions. Her story serves as a constant reminder of the enigmatic nature of the sea and the enduring power of the unknown. The whispers of her tale continue to echo across the waves, inviting us to contemplate the limits of our understanding and the haunting beauty of unanswered mysteries. The idea that the crew had simply left the ship was not popular amongst those who knew the sea. Captains and seasoned sailors shook their heads at the notion. Why would a ship be fully provisioned with food and drink, not to mention the cargo of wine, unless those on board intended to stay for a long time? The cost of carrying provisions for months was not insignificant, and no captain in his right mind would do such a thing without a very good reason. It was common knowledge that ships often ran low on food and water during long voyages, forcing them to rely on resupplies at ports along their route. Even if the captain had planned to sail for months without stopping, which would have been unheard of, surely he would have taken some precautions to prevent the waste of precious resources. Wine was considered a luxury item back then, and its presence on a merchant ship was a clear indicator of the ship's owner's wealth and status. Such cargo was highly sought after and valuable, yet it remained untouched, adding another layer of mystery to the already enigmatic situation. If the ship had been robbed, why leave the wine? If the crew had planned to abandon the vessel, why not take the wine with them? The inclusion of wine in this equation only served to highlight the puzzling nature of the case. Even more perplexing was the state of the ship itself. The Mary Celeste was a well-maintained vessel equipped with all the necessary tools and supplies for a smooth and safe journey. Lifeboats were present, indicating that the crew was prepared for emergencies. Provisions and water were available, suggesting that the voyage was meant to be a lengthy one. All of this suggested a deliberate act, not a hasty departure. Why would the crew leave behind a ship that was in excellent condition, complete with everything needed for a long voyage? It defies logic and reason, leaving us to grapple with the unsettling possibility that there may be no rational explanation for their actions, if indeed they had left the ship at all. And then there was the matter of the anchor and some of the ship's lifeboats being missing. Why would anyone in their right mind abandon the ship's anchor? Anchors were considered one of the most crucial pieces of equipment on any ship, vital for navigation and safety. Losing an anchor could have severe consequences, disrupting a ship's ability to maneuver and increasing the risk of damage or sinking. The decision to abandon an anchor was not taken lightly and was usually done only as a last resort. To lose an anchor could spell disaster, endangering the ship and its crew. So why did whoever was in charge of the Mary Celeste decide to part with this essential piece of equipment? Was it a desperate attempt to lighten the load in anticipation of rough seas? Or was there some other, perhaps more sinister reason behind its removal? All these elements combined to form a complex web of unanswered questions. The absence of a life's struggle, the untouched cargo, the missing anchor, all pointed towards a mystery that defied easy categorization. It was not a tale of piracy, nor was it a straightforward case of abandonment or mutiny. It was something else, something that resided in the shadows cast by the unknown. In a bustling port of New York City, amidst the cacophony of sailors and merchants, a handful of men gathered in hushed tones. They were not a group of superstitious seamen, but men of substance, men who navigated the world with logic and reason. Yet even they were baffled by the tale of the Mary Celeste. Captain Thomas Hand, a seasoned sailor with eyes that had seen too many storms, scratched his Sultan pepper beard. He had heard all manner of tales on the high seas, but this one chilled him to the bone. A ship fully stocked, her crew vanished, he murmured. It doesn't make sense. There has to be an answer. His companions, men of similar ilk, nodded in agreement. There had to be an explanation, a logical, rational explanation. But as the evening wore on, their bravado waned, replaced by a dawning realization that the sea sometimes had a way of confounding human logic. The boisterous tavern fell silent as the weight of the mystery settled upon them. In the dimly lit room, illuminated only by the flickering candlelight, the men grappled with the enigma of the Mary Celeste. Their silence was a testament to the power of the unknown. As the night deepened, their hushed whispers faded away, leaving behind a sobering truth. Sometimes the sea's secrets were best left undisturbed. The absence of answers was a heavy burden to bear, but it was a burden they were willing to carry to honor the spirit of the sea. In a world that demanded answers, they found solace in the quiet dignity of the unanswered. The Mary Celeste had become more than just a ship lost at sea. She was a symbol of the enduring allure of the unknown, and those who truly understood the sea respected its mysteries. They knew that sometimes the greatest adventure was not finding the answer, but embracing the question itself. So what do you think happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste? Do you have any theories? On the surface, the case of the Mary Celeste seems insoluble. There are too many unanswered questions, too many loose threads that weave together into a tangled, impenetrable knot. But if we step back, if we resist the urge to fill in the blanks with fantastical tales of piracy or supernatural occurrences, we may find a semblance of resolution. A coherent picture may not be possible, but a plausible one. Yes, one that begins with the cargo. The Mary Celeste was laden with industrial alcohol, a volatile, flammable cargo that would have filled the ship's hold with noxious fumes. If there were any leaks, if the stench grew unbearable, it is entirely plausible that Captain Briggs, a man who had sailed these seas before, a man who knew the capricious nature of the elements, ordered the crew below deck. His wife and daughter would have been there, too. That much is certain. The presence of the chronometer also makes sense. Time, after all, is of the essence when navigating at sea. Without precise knowledge of their location and the passage of time, they would be lost. The life raft would have been an essential part of their escape plan. a way to get as close to land as possible. It is easy to imagine the scene. The ship, laden with the smell of industrial alcohol, the air thick and heavy, the crew below deck, then a small noise, a quiet hiss, something out of place in the vast expanse of the sea. It could have been anything, perhaps the sound of escaping gas, perhaps the groan of a strained barrel. In that moment of uncertainty, faced with the volatile cargo and the safety of those aboard, Captain Briggs would have acted swiftly. His decision, however, would have far-reaching consequences. He ordered everyone on board, including his wife and daughter, to get into the life raft. There are two ways this scenario could have played out. The first is more dramatic. The life raft, in a panic, was lowered into the sea. No time was taken to secure it properly. The line, unable to bear the weight of the people in the raft, snapped, leaving the crew at the mercy of the waves. This would explain why the life raft was never found, why there was no trace of it in the vast expanse of the sea. The second scenario is more subdued. The life raft was lowered, but this time thought was given to securing it properly. The line was tied securely to the ship, ensuring that even if the raft drifted, the crew would not be in danger. This would explain why the life raft was not found. It was still attached to the ship, hidden from view. Either scenario is plausible, both supported by the facts of the case. In this version of events, the crew are trapped in their small boat, at the mercy of the sea. They would have needed to conserve water, ration whatever supplies they had, and wait for rescue. Days turned into nights, hope into despair, and the vastness of the sea became their only company. But the sea can be a cruel mistress, offering solace one moment and snatching it away the next. Even if the crew were fortunate enough to survive the ordeal, the chances of them being found would have been slim. The Mary Celeste, without its crew, continued its journey aimlessly across the ocean. A silent ghost ship, carrying with it the faint echoes of a desperate gamble. We do not know how long they waited, how long they hoped, or when their resolve finally broke. But as the sun climbed higher in the sky each day, their chances of rescue diminished. The sun, once a symbol of hope, became a reminder of their isolation. It is a somber thought, but not an implausible one. The Mary Celeste had set sail from New York, bound for Genoa. The journey would have taken months, exposing the crew to the elements, testing their endurance and their spirit. It is not hard to imagine the toll it took, the constant rocking of the waves, the relentless sun, and the unending horizon. Even the calmest of seas can become a tormentor, a monotonous reminder of one's confinement. As the days passed, the crew would have started to ration their food and water, tightening their belts, waiting for a rescue that seemed increasingly unlikely. Their hope, like a fragile flame, flickered in the face of the relentless winds, threatening to snuff it out completely. But amidst the despair, there would have been moments of unity, times when they shared stories, jokes, and dreams of home, trying to keep their spirits high in the face of the grim reality that surrounded them. They would have talked about their families, their friends, their lives back home, using these memories as anchors to keep them grounded in the face of the overwhelming vastness of the sea. Music may have filled the air, songs that lifted their spirits, songs that spoke of hope and resilience, or perhaps they sang sea shanty songs, meant to be sung while hauling ropes and climbing masts, now repurposed to fill the void of their despair. These moments of levity, however, would have been interspersed with bouts of anger, times when the harsh realities of their situation would have sunk in, leading to arguments, frustrations, and despair. The boundless sea around them would have mirrored the turmoil within them, a constant reminder of their entrapment. It is not a pleasant thought, but an inescapable one. The silence of the Mary Celeste is a testament to the power of the sea, a stark reminder of the fragility of human existence. It is a tragedy not of grand proportions, but of quiet desperation. The story does not end with a crew in the lifeboat. It continues on the ship, with Captain Briggs at the helm. If he made the decision to abandon ship, it was a choice born out of desperation, a calculated risk taken to ensure the safety of his wife and daughter. Perhaps he believed that the life raft was their best chance at survival, or perhaps he had no other choice. Whatever the reason, it led to the eerie tableau found by the captain of the De Gracia, an empty ship sailing aimlessly through the sea. Why the ship was still afloat, why it did not capsize, why it remained upright on the waves, is a question that has lingered in the annals of maritime mysteries. It speaks to the uncanny nature of the case, the almost surreal sight of a ship without a crew, sailing along as if guided by an invisible hand. To understand the ship's behavior, we must turn to the principles that govern the stability of a vessel at sea. A ship's stability is determined by its center of gravity and its metacentric height. The center of gravity is the point at which the weight of the ship is evenly distributed. The metacentric height is the distance between the center of gravity and the metacenter, the point where the ship's hull would intersect if extended. The sum of these factors determines how a ship behaves in the water. In the case of the Mary Celeste, we can infer some of these characteristics from similar vessels of the time. The Brigantine was a sturdy, stable vessel commonly used for trade during the 19th century. Its deep hull and broad beam would have ensured stability even in rough seas. This inherent stability, however, did not make the ship unsinkable. When fully loaded, the Mary Celeste would have had a low metacentric height, making it susceptible to the forces of the sea. The shifting of cargo, the movement of people, all would have affected the ship's balance. But the key to understanding the ship's behavior lies in the concept of capsize. For a ship to capsize, the center of gravity must shift beyond the metacenter. This would cause the ship to list dangerously and eventually flip over. In the case of the Mary Celeste, it is unlikely that this occurred. The ship was found upright, suggesting that the center of gravity did not shift beyond the metacenter. This would indicate that the cargo was not shifted, the ship was not overloaded, and there was no major structural damage. In simpler terms, the ship did not capsize because it was not filled to the brim, because the crew had done their job well, and because the ship itself was sturdy. The Mary Celeste is an enigma wrapped in layers of speculation and conjecture. Each fact, each detail, each piece of evidence adds another layer to this intricate puzzle. Yet the truth remains elusive, hidden beneath the waves, shrouded in the mists of time. What we do know is that the ship was found in good condition, suggesting that it did not suffer catastrophic damage, nor did it appear to have been in a violent struggle. The hatches were locked, the cargo intact, and there were no signs of a storm. What we do not know is what led to the abandonment of the ship, what compelled Captain Briggs to leave his post, what drove him to cast his fate to the sea. Was it the fumes? Was it the tilt? Or was it a combination of circumstances that drove him to the edge of reason? We do not know, and perhaps we may never find out. But here's the thing, we may not need an answer. The Mary Celeste's power lies not in its mystery, but in its ambiguity. It is a story best left untold, a tale that finds its strength in the silences, in the spaces between the facts. The allure of the Mary Celeste is not in the answers, but in the questions. It is in the asking that we find meaning, that we come to understand the quiet tragedies of life. The Mary Celeste is a symphony of uncertainties, a concerto of ambiguities. It is a narrative that refuses to be confined to the neat confines of a solved mystery. It is a story that whispers to us from the depths of the sea, a tale that resonates in the chambers of our hearts. The silence of the Mary Celeste is a testament to the complexities of life, a reminder of the mysteries that surround us, a tribute to the enduring spirit of humanity in the face of the unknown. It is a silence that invites us to contemplate, to ponder, and to appreciate the intricate tapestry of existence. The Mary Celeste is one of those legends that refuses to stay dead. Even though she's been gone for 150 years, she still brings up more questions than she does answers. This story isn't about pirates or treasure. It's about something much more terrifying, the unknown. The Mary Celeste was never supposed to be a scary story. That was just a detail that God added along the way. What makes her so mysterious is that no one knows what happened to her crew, and that lack of answers has made her into a ghost story. In the year 1872, when she first set sail, the Mary Celeste wasn't anything special. She was just another cargo ship, carrying everyday items from New York to Genoa. For 4 months, she sailed the same routes and did the same work like any other ship would have done. But then in December, she stopped answering letters. It was unusual, but it didn't seem too bad at first. The ship had probably just encountered rough seas, or maybe there were some problems with communication. Maybe they were just running late. But as weeks passed without word from the ship, people started to get worried. It was unlike the captain to ignore his scheduled stops. He would never skip out on delivering important packages just for the fun of it. There was something wrong. We just didn't know it yet. After more than a month without word from the Mary Celeste, People in Genoa started sending out search parties to try and find her. But by the time they arrived at the port where the Mary Celeste was supposed to have docked, she was nowhere to be seen. Had she left without anyone noticing? Was she on her way to another port? People started asking these questions, but there were no answers. All anyone could do was wait and hope that the Mary Celeste would show up soon. But it was almost Christmas before she finally reappeared. On December, the Mary Celeste sailed into the port of Gibraltar. No one had seen her coming. It was like she'd vanished only to reappear out of thin air. As she pulled into the port, people on land noticed that there were no passengers on board. Where were the crew members? Why was no one on deck waving as they came in? The captain should have been there, but he wasn't. Instead, the Mary Celeste was being steered by a man named Thomas Nickerson. He was the first mate. He should have been helping the captain steer the ship, but now he was in charge. When asked what had happened to the crew, Nickerson couldn't give a straight answer. He claimed that he didn't know, but that hardly seemed believable. How could someone who works on a ship not know where the captain is? When Nickerson was questioned again, he changed his story. He claimed that the captain and the rest of the crew had gotten sick from an unknown illness and died. He buried them at sea, he said, and he was the only one left to steer the ship to safety. Even though this explanation sounded crazy, it was good enough for the authorities at the time. They believed him, declared the Mary Celeste safe to unload, and sent her back to New York, even though there were no crew members on board. In the days since then, however, people have come up with a lot more creative theories to explain what happened on that ship. Some believe that everyone on board was killed by a giant wave and swept overboard, leaving only Nickerson behind to keep the ship afloat. Others say the ship accidentally took on too much water, causing it to sink and take everyone down with it. Still, others say that pirates attacked the ship and murdered everyone on board. They either abandoned the ship once they realized how little cargo it held, or they killed Nickerson too, and he ended up in the sea. And if you think those explanations are far-fetched, well, so did the investigators at the time. After examining the ship, they couldn't find any evidence that would point to a single one of those theories. The ship showed no signs of a struggle. None of the lifeboats were missing, and if the ship had sprung a leak and started sinking, surely there would have been some damage to the hull, but there wasn't. The cargo in the hold was also examined, and none of it had been damaged by water. The ship hadn't taken on any leaks. There was no sign that it had been boarded by pirates. No one had looted the cargo. The ship's log had also been examined, and there was no sign of foul play there either. The last entry in the log was made on December, and it gave no indication of any trouble on board. As you can see, the investigation turned up nothing, and that is why the real question should be what happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste. It should be, why are we so obsessed with figuring out what happened to them in the first place? Sure, it's interesting to try and imagine what might have happened, but it's really not that big of a deal, is it? A few dozen people went missing, and there's no way to find out what happened. Life moves on. That's it. Case closed. So why do we still tell this story today? It's because we can't let it go. The idea that so many people can vanish without a trace is just too frightening. We want to believe that something must have happened, so we make up stories to explain the evidence. It's important to remember that this story isn't about the ship at all. The Mary Celeste isn't haunted by any ghostly crew members or anything like that. The story is haunted by our own imaginations. It's about the way our brains fill in the blanks when something is left unexplained. The reason this story has lasted so long is because it doesn't have an ending. All we know is that the ship arrived at Gibraltar without a crew. And that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for storytelling. There's nothing to narrate. There's no action to describe. The only thing we have is the silence of the ship. That's why I like to tell this story as a ghost story. It isn't really about the Mary Celeste at all. It's about the crew that we imagine was on board when she arrived in Gibraltar. It is about the captain and his wife and their friends who were supposed to arrive in Genoa for Christmas, but who never did. It is about the daughter who was born on the ship and named for the city she would never see. It is about all the people whose lives intersected with the Mary Celeste, but who were erased from existence when she disappeared. This story is about the crew of the Mary Celeste, but it's also about everyone else involved with her. It's about the families and friends of the crew, the people who waited for them to come home but who never saw them again. It's about the sailors who searched for the ship and found nothing. It's about the investigators who tried to piece together what had happened and failed. It's about the people who owned the ship and worried that their investment was lost forever. It is about all the people who had something to do with the Mary Celeste. But who do you want to have a story to tell? Some legends are remembered because of their drama, their action, their excitement. The Mary Celeste isn't like that. She is remembered because of her quiet, because of her stillness, because of the peacefulness of her absence. She is a testament to the power of the untold. She is a story that refuses to be told. The Mary Celeste continued to sail the seas for many years after she arrived in Gibraltar. She was eventually sold and renamed the Amazon, but she still carried the ghost of her former name. The Mary Celeste, she was a phantom ship sailing the oceans, a reminder of the mysteries that lie beneath the waves. The Mary Celeste is a testament to the power of the unknown. In a world that demands answers, she offers only silence. In a world that celebrates the loud and the dramatic, she whispers her story in the quiet of the night. She is a gentle breeze on a summer day, a soft lullaby sung by the waves, a quiet walk along the shore. She is the calm in the storm, the stillness in the chaos, the peace in the midst of the unknown. The Mary Celeste is a reminder that sometimes the greatest adventures are found not in the loudest roar, but in the quietest whisper. Her story is a testament to the power of the untold, the magic of the unknown, and the beauty of the unanswered. She is a silent film, a narrative told in the absence of sound, the stillness of the water, and the quiet ghost of a lost family. She reminds us that some of the greatest stories are not filled with noise and fury, but with the haunting echoes of the unknown. Her legend is a quiet whisper on the wind, a gentle hum on the water, a lullaby of unsolved questions. In a world filled with constant noise, the Mary Celeste is a peaceful sanctuary, a quiet place where we can reflect on the mysteries of the past. Her story is a powerful reminder that not all of history's great moments are found in the roar of battle or the thunder of a great discovery. Some of the most profound moments are found in the quiet, unexplainable stillness of an empty ship. And in that stillness, there's a kind of gentle comfort, a peaceful feeling of not needing to know all the answers. The Mary Celeste sails on in our imaginations, an eternal symbol of a peaceful mystery. If you enjoyed this spooky tale, be sure to check out my podcast. Thank you for watching, and happy haunting.